Hello and welcome to the Low Level Boss podcast, where a group of nerds ramble on about video games, films, current events, controversies, and other random nerdy things. I'm your host Charles, and I'm from Low Level Boss. And with me, I have Brandon and Jared. And sadly, Mike could not make it today. Rest in peace. So, would you guys like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Brandon. I'm known. I'm trying to start up my I guess alias, or I've had so many different names.
Yeah.
Ducky, blah blah blah. I'm at go with Bloodless Duck. See if how that works. Yeah.
Jared.
Oh,
Anyway, I'm Jared. At Dark Jack Wolf. I've had the same username since I was 6 years old.
Really?
Yeah, doesn't sound like a 6-year-old made that name to you.
No, I thought you just made that in high school or middle school or something like that. But
No,
I
I've
guess
had
you've
that
been using
forever.
the internet, for a longer term than I ever did. Because I didn't start until I was, I think already in high school maybe. I used a little bit beforehand for downloading Sims stuff.
Yeah.
And then I didn't get internet until I was really in high school, and that's when I just really started to use it. And one of the first things I started using it for was RuneScape, and I think because I remember my friends always talking about it. I'm like, oh, I want to play an MMO. I never played one before, and I got into that hardcore, and I played it so long the first day. It was midnight already, and I didn't eat at all. And I was like, oh crap, I have school the next day.
I remember RuneScape. Oh man, that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my friend Aaron. I went over his house and he was playing it. And I was like, "What's that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's an online game. You can play with other people." I'm like, "What?" And I remember I had dial up, and Peter could barely handle the fucking game. And I remember it took 3 hours to get the game running, and it would take 20 minutes of a load time every day, or some just log in or something.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
think
remember those days. It's all right, I'm going to play some video games. Okay, turn on the computer. I'm going to let everything load for 30 minutes. I'm going to go get a snack, and I'll be back.
Yeah,
You had to sit
yeah.
there and prep for your gaming sessions, just for the loading times, really. And that gave you, I guess, time to go, get in the mode. Nowadays, you just flip it on and just get right onto your games.
I don't think
kids these
I don't
days
think
don't
I
know.
got very far in RuneScape. I think the only thing I really ever did in that game was there was a follow command. If you right clicked on another person, you
Yeah.
click follow, and I would literally kind of stealthily follow them for a little bit first, and then I'd
Uh-huh.
wait for them to stop and open up their window or something, and then I'd click on the follow command and see how long it would take them to notice. And some people would just figure it out and blah blah.
I
But
remember
some
that.
people had full on mental breakdowns.
Really?
Every so often. One guy, I was following for a long time. He was like, "Okay, that was funny, hilarious. Okay, dude, I get it. Ha, it's a game. Stop it, man. I'm serious, dude. I only have a certain amount of time to play." And he logged off, right? And I waited, and he logged back on. He said, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And he logged off again, and I waited a half an hour, and he came back, and he went on this huge rant about he just wants to play the game, and this is his only outlet, and I'm ruining it for him.
Jeez, you just broke somebody. You mentally broke them. Oh, that's awesome.
I forgot that I wasn't the only one of the first trolls. I forgot Brandon was too.
Yeah.
Wasn't that all in browser?
Yeah, it was. I think it still is. You can play the classic one. I still have my character, and your guys' characters might still be around if you had one. But it's put onto the new RuneScape. And I went back onto my new RuneScape, and I realized somebody had my account at one point because, my more expensive rune kind of stuff is missing, and my character is permanently muted.
Oh,
So I think someone went on there, took my rune stuff,
Yeah.
and then used me as a spam bot kind of deal.
damn.
I was like, oh, well. Well, at least the character's still there. And what I did is a while back, I think a couple months ago, I started up classic RuneScape. And so it's just as you remember it for RuneScape. What was it called? I think it was RuneScape 2.0 or something like that. And it's what the classic idea of the RuneScape is. Not the classic, which was the two-dimensional isometric kind of one. It was the next step up when they redid it. And my character, I made a new character in there, and it's actually still fun. It's kind of like a bare bones MMO, but that bare bones, that simpleness, actually makes it still fun. I think that's why a lot of people played it. It's not trying to do too much. It's just hey, here's this game. You can fight monsters and you get stuff. There's no class system, so you can always just try out new classes on your guy when you want, and stuff like that. I remember I was always poor. I was always looking for ways to get gold in that game, and then I became a member for a couple months, and then they came out with construction. I don't know how I did it, but I probably made 1,000,000 gold just so I can like level up my construction. Like it was, you ever seen like somebody like when they get into like a drug addiction and they spend all their money on drugs, but then all of a sudden they find ways just to make tons and tons of money to spend on those drugs? That was me and, the construction skill. Oh, that was, God, RuneScape. That I remember like, skipping my chemistry homework or trying to get it done real quick just so I can go play RuneScape, and then that's why I got like a C in chemistry.
Yeah, I think I spent most of my time killing chickens and burying them for faith.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I ever really played RuneScape all that much because I don't remember our internet connection really letting me.
Yeah, I mostly didn't. It was mostly like watching a bunch of pictures instead of
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Frame. Yeah.
Like you're just playing, right? And then, and then it freezes for a second because, that was normal time, and all of a sudden you're dead. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my internet being so bad when I played that. Like today or the other day, I was getting internet installed at my house, and it's the business account from the office. And I'm like, yeah, it's so slow. It's like 15 up and 2 down. And I'm sitting there talking to the tech guy, and I was like, you know what? I remember when, in high school, when I was happy to get 1 down, like 1 megabit per second
Right.
download. And nowadays, it's like I'm complaining about 15. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that game took up so much of my time. Not as much as my one buddies. Like, I think when they came out with a way to see how much time you can, you spent playing, I couldn't check. I think you had to be a member. He was like, he checked his main character, and this guy had other characters because he made like pure fighters, because you can keep your level low, but you just put it into like one stat a lot, so that way when you walk up to another person in PvP, you hit them once and then they die. Like, but if you get hit, you'll probably die pretty quickly. So he would just make pure characters. So not including those, just including his one character that he had since what was it when it started, like 2003? He started really early on. He checked how many hours he did, and it was like, you've played this character for 365 days. He's like, wait, what?
So, a year?
A full like if you to get his character, you had to play a year straight without stopping for anything.
Jeez.
And this guy was like, I don't know, 20. So that was like, 1/20th of his life was spent just on this game. Not including sleep, not including school, just that.
This was RuneScape?
Yeah.
Wow. It's funny because I've had some experience. Me and Jared played Moo Online. And
I was about to bring that up because that's
Moo
really
Online.
the only RPG that MMO that I've ever really spent a lot of time. It's MU.
MU, yeah.
Oh.
So I don't know if it's Moo or Mew. I always pronounce it Mew.
I'm pretty sure it's a Korean game. Yeah, go to images. Oh, you could even go to their website. Whoa, things have changed. I haven't played this game since I played RuneScape, so
Yeah,
which is a long time ago.
Is that it?
Is it still? It still like exists?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, a lot of those MMOs still exist. Like Ultimate Online, which was like I think one of the first MMOs. It still has a $20 a month like subscription fee, and it's like stayed $20 a month since it was like hosted. And that game came out I think before RuneScape, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, so no, go on. Wait, we're finished.
Oh no, I'm done. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was waiting for a pause. Sorry. I was just saying that with oh my lord, died. Now I lost my train of thought because I felt bad about cutting you off.
That's all good.
Oh, those old games, Ultima. There you go.
Yeah.
I had when I was a GM at Square Enix for Final Fantasy Online 14. The Rebirth, not the original one. I didn't play the original. That was a complete shit fest, shit show. Everyone who worked there were like, yeah, it was a piece
Good
of
thing
shit.
you don't work there anymore.
Well, nah, I wouldn't even really care that much. Everyone knows that the original was shit. Even like one of the head bosses came in the room and we were talking about it. And he was like, "Oh, that piece of crap." Yeah, we fixed that. Everyone hated the original, so they redid it and made it a lot better. And then when they rebirthed the game, whenever I became a GM on it, well, one of the head GMs has been a GM pretty much her whole life, I guess. I don't know how long, but she's been a GM for a long time, and she was on Ultima, I believe. and
Wow.
she said that W00T or WOT Woot whatever came from Ultima Online, and it was just a shortening of wonderful loot. Like, wow, we got a really good drop from this
Oh
guy.
wow, I never.
Wonderful loot, woot.
Yeah. Wow.
So
I thought it was a different form of like woo woo, like I don't.
Yeah, that's because well, that's what it's used now. It's just like woot woot, like
yeah, now it's come to like yay, woo,
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
before it
yeah,
was
like woohoo, yeah.
well, it is still woohoo, but it was originally specifically for woohoo loot. But now it's
Right.
woohoo everything.
Wow.
That's interesting.
I love learning what, like the origins of like those acronyms and just like leet speak or whatever you want to call it.
I don't want to go too far back, but
Late.
elite, yeah, that's one of the words. But Mu
I'm
Online,
so late.
yeah, you are, dude. 1337 is that what it is? Mu Online, the original game, I eventually started playing private servers and stuff because the original like thing was really kind of it was horribly difficult. Like there was no I don't remember how RuneScape didn't have any quests either. It was just it was a grind game as well, right?
It had quests, but I think it was mostly grind because I never really did the quests because the quests themselves had you trekking across the whole map. It seemed like you had to
That's
go
exactly what
a
Mu
lot
Online
of
was.
places. Yeah.
There was literally when I played, there was literally only 2 quests in the entire game.
Really?
And and you had to be level 150 or something just to start it. And
whoa.
And in the original server, I played for like 3 months, and I'm a huge gamer. I played all day, every day.
Yeah.
I only got to like level 32 or something.
So those quests were in game, pretty much.
Yeah, and it was, so all you do is you fight, you just kill monsters, and eventually you're way stronger than all the monsters in your area, but the next area, they're way stronger than you. So you have to always sit killing tons and tons of weak-ass people before you can move on to another area.
Like, there's no middle ground. You just have to, like...
Or if you have friends and you get together, then you can create parties, and you can
power level and stuff. Yeah.
It did have events, didn't it?
It had events. That was one thing they definitely had.
I did enjoy the events. The events were really kind of fun.
There's some really cool ones. Later, and some of them I only didn't even get to enjoy until I got to a private server, though, because some of the events are really, really difficult. One of them, you just get teleported to this just giant square, and then monsters just start randomly appearing in like 10 waves. And if you make it to the very end, everyone gets all these really cool items and things like that.
And then there's the one where you're like on a bridge, and the bridge is from side to side packed with monsters, and you have to make it down the bridge. So you have to kill all these monsters, and it's like completely jam packed with them.
You remember Lord of the Rings, right? Like that part where they're all like along that bridge, and
they're fighting all
it's kind of like that. And and you have to like walk through. Except you're coming from the other way. You're trying to break into the castle basically, and you can't walk through the monsters, so you have to kill them as you keep going. And as eventually, if you kill a monster will drop like a special kind of weapon that you can start destroying the door with, and whoever destroys the door gets a free item. Whoever drops the original item that destroys the door gets a free item, and then whoever destroys there's a statue inside. When you destroy the statue, there's a really cool item from there, and then you take that back all the way to the front, and the Archangel will trade you for something really awesome. It's so every step of the way, whoever does the first one to do that thing gets something.
Wow!
But the best one is to kill the statue.
Probably only about 5 or 10% of the players that went into that event made it out alive.
Yeah, it was very rare. Most people died in the first 2 or 3 seconds. It was just dead, because they were so much stronger than them.
Yeah,
they're all waiting and training just for this event. You go in, and all of a sudden you're just dead already. You're like,
it only happened like every 2 hours or something. So you would be sitting around, and you walk in and die, and you're like, well, fuck me.
that reminds me of another MMO that I played and was a complete grind fest. Did you guys ever play MapleStory?
I never did.
Yes, but I never really got into it. It's that 2D
it was
side scroller game, right?
Yes, it was the 2D action kind of side scroller, which is really fun. And I tried to play it again, but I couldn't get into my account. But basically, you had to grind on monsters. You had to. The general strategy was if you can hit a monster in one hit, just barely. That was the best one because you get the most experience for each hit that you do, each attack. So you would have to go into an area where the monsters weren't too weak, but they were just strong enough to They don't survive your first attack. They get killed in one hit. So that way you sit there and you go across the whole little screen area, killing and killing and killing, and waiting for them to respawn. So you just sat there and you just grind. You just have like a little like pattern down on your keyboard. But I remember there was one part in it where there was this tower. You can go, I think, up it or down it. And so what a lot of like young or low-level players would do is they would go down the tower. Now on the tower there's all these like crazy strong monsters. But if you're jumping down, you can kind of avoid them. So you get down there, you go down to this new town, and you're like, oh, this town's cool. You can't do any of the quests because they're too high level. You can't do anything. So you got to try to go back up the tower. The problem is the monsters are so strong, they'll kill you in like one hit. So a lot of times with low-level characters would get stuck in this town, and you would have to you'd have to ask for money, basically. You have to beg for your way back so you can get a teleport scroll to go back to town if you didn't have enough money.
Well, I think like in Mu Online or Mu, I think like if you were to get in an area where you couldn't fight any of the monsters, I think you could join a party, and then every time that party killed something, you would get experience points.
Yeah, but the thing was like it was difficult. If someone was the same level as you, I don't know exactly. For some reason, the experience was less. But if you had someone who was like 3 or 4 levels higher than you, everyone in the party got more experience. So one guy would take like 4 noobs and go to a lot higher area, and he would just kill monsters because he got extra experience for doing it, and everyone in the party got extra experience for doing it.
Wow,
so
that seems unbalanced, like totally broken.
That game was fucked. That game had so many fucking problems.
Yeah.
The one quest, it's literally so you finally get it when you leave, because everyone starts as you're either a dark knight, a dark magician. Or is that what it's called? Dark Wizard. Or Dark Wizard? Yeah, not Dark Magician. That's fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! Was it Dark Wizard? I think it's DW. Dark Wizard.
It's been way too long for me to remember any of that.
Anyway, so it's Dark Knight, Dark Wizard or something, and then Elf, right? Fucking Elf. It's just weird. And then she's the only female character. The other are just dudes. And when you get the quest, now you have to grind in one of the hardest areas in the game, and it's like a less than like 1%, 0.1% drop or something. So I played for like a week before it dropped.
Wow.
And then I was able to turn that in, and then they give you another quest, and you have to go to even harder level to get another thing that's even lower chance to drop. Once you get that, you get to ascend to your next level. So a Dark Knight becomes a Blade Master. A Dark Wizard becomes a Sorcerer or something. I can't even fucking remember. And the Elf becomes like a High Elf or some shit. And the difference is you can start wearing wings and things like that. And wings were like, it took me like 3 months to get the ingredients to make wings.
Oh god, I hated stuff like that in games.
And it was only a 47% chance of success.
Oh my god.
And if you put it together in the melding machine or whatever,
was it called like a chaos machine or something? And you had to get
jewels of chaos.
Didn't you actually have to get chaos emeralds or something?
Yeah, jewels of chaos.
That's what
Chaos emeralds.
Jewels of chaos.
There's jewels of bless, jewels of soul, and jewels of chaos. Jewels of chaos are the most common, but when I played the original server, not the private one, all my time I ever played the game, I never saw a single jewel of any kind. Ever.
Wow.
That's how fucking rare they were. When I played in private servers, they were more rare, but they increased the odds and blah blah for people. I mean, they weren't.
Did they just make it fair, like fairly balanced?
They made it a lot more fair. I think they made the game actually fun in a way.
So the guy that you knew, which you'll explain about, was that in the original server?
I met him in a private server, but he was obsessed in the original server. He played private servers to practice for his original server. One day he brought me. He was like, "Hey, you want to go play the original for a little bit?" And I'm like, "Fuck it, sure." And he showed me all of his characters. And like I said, it took me like 3 months to get to level 30. And I told you about the wings. Level 1 wings are a 40-something% chance to succeed. Level 2 wings, you put your level 1 wings in, and it's like a 35% chance to succeed. And anytime something in a chaos machine fails, you lose all the items that you put in. Every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this guy on the original server had 4 characters that were level 250 to 300. They all had level 2 wings.
God. Jeez.
I don't think there's a better definition for not having a life.
You were getting caught up in your words. You didn't know how to explain that.
And
like, there's no explanation for this.
Servers. He played 10 different private servers.
Jeez, just for practice on the. Oh my god.
when it really comes down to it, I would say that Mu Online was pretty much, if you took, I know another old game. Well, it wasn't really a game, but Gaia Online, and then you
Wasn't a game.
then you added a World of Warcraft skin onto it.
Yeah.
That's Mu Online. It was just a fashion show.
Yeah,
or
the
a
whole game was
contest.
about trying to find the coolest looking items, and the jewels increase the level, so you can make a scale chest up to +1,
Yeah.
+2, +3, +4, +5. All the way up to +5, it's a 100% chance of succeeding. +6, you need Jewel of Soul. Jewel of Soul has a 50% chance of succeeding to +6. If you're at +5 and you fail, you just go to +4. If you go from 5 to 6, 50%. But if you make it to 6 and you try to use another Jewel of Soul from 6 to 7, it's still 50% chance. But if you fail, it goes back to +0 at that point.
What in the fuck?
Yeah, and then it goes up to +8, +9, and then in order to get to +10, you have to put it in the Chaos Machine. And use Jewels of Chaos, Jewels of Blast, Jewels of Soul, and there's +11, +12, all the way up to +13.
Oh my god, dude.
I had 4 items at +12 and 1 item at +11, and I decided to put it in the machine, and then I lost it, and I walked around with pants or something for like a month because I lost my best item.
Jeez. I wouldn't be able to handle that. I would stop playing.
Yeah, I one day I realized that I thought that was the only way MMOs were until I started playing other MMOs. I was like, oh,
Yeah, see,
what
that
have I
game-
been
Like
doing?
using MapleStory as kind of like a like in a similar way, what they would do is you would have scrolls that had a chance of working or not working. If they failed, they just failed. It was no big deal. But they introduced later into the game, I guess, I don't know if they were called Chaos Scrolls or something like that. Like it's a similar kind of name. It had a certain percent chance of working or not, depending on like the level. If it was a stronger scroll, it had like a 10% chance of working. If it failed, there was a 50% chance that it'll destroy the item. And they introduced that into the game to make it so that way these items would cost more, to bring a rarity back to these items, because you just find them and you kind of like ruin the economy more and more. As more and more players play, the economy gets more and more poor. So they would introduce these scrolls to kind of like make things more rare, so that way they became more expensive, and you brought that back to it. And that was a cool mechanic. I thought that was really cool. It's like, yeah, you can use these normal scrolls, but if you really want to be like, really, really good, you need to use these Chaos Scrolls. Because I think on certain items you can only do it 5 times, like you use 5 scrolls on it.
Yeah.
And I think if you did fail a scroll, it would count against that number. Let's say you had 5 scrolls, and 4 of them worked and 1 didn't. You couldn't use any more scrolls on it. So you would basically like ruin an item almost, like because it's not perfect. And but if you did perfect that item, it was worth
cool.
a lot of money. So it was like there was up and downs to it.
That's way better than Mu Online. Mu Online was stupid.
Yeah, well, like I was gonna say, I've never played MMOs because of Mu Online. That game completely disenfranchised
It burned you
me.
out. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's probably
like
a good thing.
like I remember when World of Warcraft got really big, I was no, fuck that. And then one day Brandon got into it, and he's like, and I talked to him. Brandon, he said like, actually, it's actually pretty good. It's got quests and stuff. But for some reason, I just never got into it.
Indication whether it's good. Well, it's got quests. Yeah, it's so sad that Moon is that bad.
I played the Old Republic, not Knights, but the old, the MMO.
The MMO,
and
yeah.
it was so disappointing.
Yeah.
So like, that's all I have. That's
they
all
really
my
hyped
experience.
that up as the like a WoW killer. This is gonna be like the next step in MMO gameplay, and it was just like, yeah, this is the same thing but less
It was
content.
just WoW with a Star Wars skin. That was all.
Yeah,
it
and
was.
the cool thing that it had was cinematic, so you can actually sit there and play a story.
that
But
that was cool because it was the same creators as
like Mass Effect and
Mass Effect.
Yeah.
It was the same creators, so they had that
yeah,
same
it was a very similar like
the dialogue system.
Yeah,
And I loved that about that game, but it got boring really fast.
I think because it was like, it really did feel like an expansion to WoW. It was like the Star Wars skin expansion for WoW.
Yeah.
Because there was unique things, there was cool things, but there wasn't enough to make you go, this isn't WoW. It really.
Well, I think the main problem is like if you look at WoW, WoW has had so many years on anything that comes out. So if you try to do something that's similar to WoW, it's always going to be inferior because WoW has so much content. It's been built up over the years. Nothing can directly compete. You have to do something completely different in order to survive. Because people are going to compare it to WoW. There's no, there's no doubt about that. That's
I think that because of that, yeah, I think because everyone right now is being really into this specific mold of MMO, and people need to start
Yeah.
thinking outside the box, and they're not. They're thinking, oh, we'll add this feature and it'll be different. You got to really think differently now. It has to be a different kind of game.
I think the games that did that were, Minecraft and Minecraft style kind of games. Like you had this big open world that can almost be like an MMO, but it just didn't go down the MMO route. It just went like, oh, we're just going to do gameplay. We're not going to do stat building, min-maxing, and stuff like that. We're just going to have, you're collecting resources or doing whatever. Because it's so different from WoW, it's not going to be compared. But it is an open world online game, and that's what WoW kind of was. Yeah, you have to do something completely different. I think MMOs are just going to be dead. At least that kind of MMO, until we can find something else. But even then, the people that are going to make new stuff, they're going to probably try to style it after, like you can already see, they're going to style it after Minecraft and DayZ, and who else did that kind of style well? Like you can see Rust, but I would say Rust was kind of like a combination of Minecraft and DayZ.
Yeah, you're right.
What's that new game, Brandon? Ricardo brought it up last week. It looks like it's in that Ark. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an up and coming right now.
Ark.
Is ARK, I think?
I think so.
Oh, Ark Survival Evolved?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had no interest in that game at first. It just looked like a dinosaur game. But once I really watched the trailer, it looks actually really fun, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll have to play it, but from what I've seen, and this is kind of like just personal preference, so not everyone's like this. The crafting systems, I love crafting systems in games. I think it's been done well. But if you have too many items that you need to collect in order to craft, that's when you start losing me. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like in Minecraft,
no, I get that.
In Minecraft, you just had like basic materials. You had wood, and then whatever like metal or whatever you're going to use for that, like wood and stone. Starting off wood and stone, wood and metal, wood and diamond. That makes sense to me. I can understand that. It's when you have to. I was playing this game. It was a zombie game. What was it called? Let me look it up.
It's one of those style games.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll put like a picture of it up later on the video feed. But it was done by a single kid, and that's what amazed me. It was like a better DayZ than DayZ. It was like this like kind of goofy styled DayZ kind of like clone almost, where you're just going through the world, you're collecting items, you're trying to avoid zombies and stuff like that, and it was really fun. It's a single kid, and he did this really awesome game. You can sit there and build bases, you can get cars, and you can build a base to keep out all the zombies and to put your food and farming and stuff like that. But the problem was, let's say you wanted to make a door, you had to go get wood. You're like, okay, I'll just put this wood into a door. It's like, no, you need turn that wood into 2 different cross sections, and then you need to turn it into a panel and a panel, and you need to put all the 3 of those things together to make the door. It was like there's so many steps. It's like you had to use the wood to make different items, and you use a combination of those different items to make that item. And it was just like, okay, this is not intuitive. I can't do this, and that was the problem. So when you refine down the crafting system to basic materials, and then like say you go into a crafting book, you're like, okay, I want to create this. What do I need? Oh, I need this much stone, this much wood, and this much metal, let's say. Okay, that makes sense to me. It's like I can go get those 3 things. I don't have to keep track of like different refinements of those same ores. It's like just give me the amount of ores. And I think Ark is kind of similar to that, so I'll have to go back to see it. I think coming in on it where my friend was at, it was very complicated. Which is fine if you do that in the end game or like later on, but in the beginning it just needs to be simple to get me hooked into it, if that makes sense.
I see what you're saying. I think the Forest did pretty well with that.
Oh yeah, the Forest, that was I think a very good example of that, because you had logs, sticks, and stones, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that it's a very simple thing, but it made sense in the aspect of what you needed, and you can kind of like have storage of items and stuff like that. That's fine. It's when you take those items and you have to go, okay, I have to use this wood to make this, use this stone to make this, and then I put those 2 things together to make this. It's like, why can't I just use the wood and stone together? And it doesn't have to make sense to me. It just has to be simple, if that makes sense. Like I just want to put wood together and make a door. Like I don't need this extra step between that. And need to go, okay, how many of this do I need? How many of that do I need? No, I don't need that.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of where Fallout 4 kind of fell into. I really enjoyed the crafting system at first. After a while, I was like, wait, I can't build this because I need screws and a blank and oh man. And I'd find out that I had to go do something, and I ended up not playing the game most of the time because I was looking for fucking items to build my damn main plays.
I think they did the crafting really well, but how that crafting applied to the game, I'll agree with you on that. It was just like,
oh, there's some beautiful parts about the crafting.
Yeah.
There's some some parts that I think need to be like carried over into next what do you call those games? The ones by Bethesda. I don't know.
The next sequels and like the other IPs that are similar.
Yeah, because there's some really cool parts, but I feel like when it takes away from like when you instead of like playing the game like doing missions or quests or whatever, and you feel like all you have to do is be searching for things like screws or glass or something, it gets a little frustrating. I spent literally like 6 or 7 hours building up my the original place you start at in Fallout 4, and it turns out like most of it meant nothing because it never got attacked. I built walls all the way around. I basically made this giant fortress with like stairs that went over it and ways of getting in and out only for like the settlers and things. I made it like I worked on my ass on it.
Wow.
And I beat the whole game. I kept coming back. I'm like, wow, this has never been attacked ever. And even if it has, it wouldn't ever be attacked for very long, And it just it felt like I wasted time into it. So if crafting needs to be done well, you can't have like, where you spend so much time and you feel like your time is wasted.
Well, I think
exactly.
What we're trying to do in games right now is we're trying to find the line, the right line between simplicity and realism, because we were at simplicity and we're like we want it to look more real, we want it to be more real, we want it to feel more real until we go a little too far and we're like instead of the enemies dropping certain tools, we have to actually go find these tools. Weird areas. You're like, I kind of would rather the enemy drop it. It doesn't make sense, but at least I can play the game and still collect stuff without having to go out of my way from playing the game,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that because you always want things to make sense, but a lot of times when you're playing a game, it doesn't necessarily need to make full sense. Like in Fallout, it kind of bugs me, but I understand. How am I able to make a full like machine gun at my desk just when I have like a little bit of metal? It's like, don't I need like a full forgery and all this machinery to make this advanced gun? Like the simple guns made sense, but the advanced guns didn't. Like I could just craft this stuff, but you kind of have to go, well, it's a game, I don't need all this extra stuff, because then that's when you start getting into that super complicated kind of crafting system. So it's like, okay, I can forgive that. So it's just like you need to kind of give that up and just be like, it still needs to be fun. This is a game, it needs to be fun and accessible.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to pick up and play and be like, oh, here, I'll just do crafting today. And you just pick up and you start doing it. And it's quick.
I remember when I first got into Minecraft and I started learning the crafting system, and I was like, this is not how chemistry works. and then after a while, I got used to it. Now I'm like, actually, it probably makes the most sense for that game,
Yeah, because I love that. It was like you had the basic ingredients and you had like a little grid of 9. And it's like, however you put that into a formation, to me, it just made sense. It was like, okay, a door is like this.
It was intuitive.
A sword is like this, and it just made it kind of like made sense.
I was thinking, I was definitely more on the realism side because I'm thinking, why do you need sugar cane to make paper? I have lots of wood, stuff along those lines,
I think the one game that did it pretty well without doing like a Minecraft kind of thing was Terraria. Which was like, unabashedly like, yeah, we're inspired by Minecraft. This is how we would have done Minecraft if we did it. And, when they were upfront about it, that's what made that game like really cool. They're not trying to copy.
Right.
They're just saying, hey, we're inspired by that directly and we're going to do it this way. What they did is you go up to a workbench and you'd open up your crafting menu and it would just have a list of the stuff you wanted to craft. And then when you hover over it, it was like, okay, you need this much and this much. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And so, you go, collect those items and do it that way. Because that one has a lot more items, and if you sit there and try to do like the 3x3 grid, it would have been too much. You wouldn't have been able to have enough combinations, and it just wouldn't have made sense. Whereas like they're just like, okay, here's a list of it. This is what you need to make this, this, and this. And it's like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, because I think I don't know if there's ever been any other crafting system that was like Minecraft, where you actually put the little blocks in there and do it like that. Yeah, I'll have to check out Ark. Because that seems like you can do a lot. You can create like some cool bases and stuff. Because that's what I like in certain games is like, can I make a base? Can I make like this cool little home for like my own self? Because it depends on my mood on what kind of game I can play. And I feel like Minecraft kind of like was always like a good example of something that adapted to my play. It's like, okay, I just want to do something peaceful, so I'll go into Minecraft, I'll just build up my base, just do a little bit of farming. Or later on, it's like, oh, I want to do more combat kind of oriented stuff. I want to be like a little bit excited, and so I'll go out in the wilderness and start fighting monsters and getting items. And it's like, I like when you can sit there and go at your own pace, and it still makes sense in the world, and it actually, provides progression in it. Because a lot of games you can't do that. It's like, I like Rocket League and stuff, but there's sometimes where I just want to have like a peaceful, just little playthrough of something. I don't want it to be like, heart pounding like action and stuff like that. It's like, I just need to go at certain paces at different times. And base building games can actually like do that really well. There's one I started to play, and I'm kind of excited about it, but it's very simple right now. It's called Salt.
Salt.
Just SALT?
Yeah, and there's actually, for anybody listening, and both of you guys, there is a demo of it. Like if you go to the store page and you scroll down, you can click demo. And that's what I did. I just, went to that, and it's...
Oh, okay.
And it's a good way to, like, start out this game. It just gives you, like, the very basics of it. But, again, this game is very basic in itself. You're just kind of, like, exploring islands, and you make a boat, and you can kind of customize the boat and stuff like that. And it just seems... I don't know, it's really cool, and it's simple. You can't mold the landscape like you can in Minecraft, but some games just don't need that. That's fine.
It's multiplayer?
I think right now it's not, but it's intended to be.
Oh, okay.
So, I guess you take on the idea is like you're a pirate going around to all these islands, finding treasure and fighting other pirates and stuff like that. I don't know if I don't know if it'll go anywhere. It seems like it's kind of like dead in the water, but it's kind of like an interesting idea, and the demo is pretty cool. Like you just play the demo and get the idea of it. And I didn't know Steam had a demo system.
Wait, how does that work? The demo system?
Here, I'm on the store page of Steam right now, and when you go to, let's say you searched Salt, go to the demo section of it, there's a category called demos. You can play American Truck Simulator demo. You can play Payday 2 demo. It's like, I didn't know this whole part of, Steam existed. Because like a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh, man, what I really missed was demos. They still exist. It's just, it's not like up front. At least to me, I didn't notice before. So this would be a good way to like, just, play like different games. Like there's 41 pages of demos. There's a Limbo demo. So like if you've kind of been like up in or you kind of like been indecisive about getting a certain game, there you go.
but a demo is specifically just one single part of the game, right?
Yeah.
Because I personally prefer to get a limited amount of time to play the full game, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's the best way. Because in a demo that's kind of styled the other way, they can pick like the best part of a game. And then your impression of it is kind of like, what would you call it? It's just very influenced by that. And so yeah, I agree with you that like it needs to give you like the start of the game, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes of gameplay, and if you're hooked in at that point, it's like, if you're hooked in at that point, you might like the game.
Well, now, it's also for me mostly because I'm not really a single player. I like to play games with friends. So I want to be able to play a game I haven't bought with my friends online. You can't really do that with demos.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's like you can't understand how it's going to play in a multiplayer because games just play completely different. So I don't know. Like I guess we'll have to try that at one point. It's like let's say the Payday 2 demo. That's a game you need to play with other people.
Yeah, and that's something that's one of those games actually that I would want to play before I buy it to see if it's something I would really enjoy.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I'm not against demos. I think demos are a great thing. It's just not my personal thing.
Yeah. I think since Steam has been rolling out that whole idea of if you don't get what you want within 2 hours, you're allowed to like return it. I think that's a great idea. I think that helps stop people from like I guess tricking people into buying their game. Because there's been like games before, it's like, oh, look how amazing this game is. It's like, oh yeah, that looks cool. I'll play that. And then you realize, oh, this game's shit. They just showed the best parts of it.
I think they're actually doing their return system very well because I bought Guns of Icarus the other day. Mm-hmm. And then Brandon wanted it, and I was like, oh, maybe I could put an extra $10. We find out there's a 4-pack for $20. Yeah. And we're like, we should have got that. So I went to go see if I could return it and get the 4-pack. And on the how-to of how to return a game, in the description, it's like a mock return thing. It says, I meant to buy this special edition version of this game or
Oh,
this
that's
4-pack
cool.
of this game.
Yeah.
So like they understand that happens. So like you could even return a game if like let's say you bought the game and a few days later it goes on sale, they'll let you return it and get the sale.
Oh wow. Because
Yeah.
I've seen that done a lot with like physical items in stores. It's like they go, oh yeah, if there's a sale, it's like we feel bad for ripping you off basically. So here, come to us and we'll give you like the difference back. I think that's doing that with games is amazing. Because I know we were talking about the other day about if anybody wants to check, me and Brandon were just discussing both sides of like piracy and stuff like that. I think this is one of the great ways you can kind of like get rid of that. Because I feel like a lot of people will pirate a game because they're just like, I don't know if the game's gonna be good. It's like I will buy it if I like it, but I need to, there's no way to test it out first. And so I feel like this is a very good way. I've heard it. Who was it? I think it was Notch when he was talking about Minecraft. The best way you can get rid of piracy is provide a better service than any pirate can. That's just the best way. No DRM is going to do that. It's just you got to provide a better service. And I feel like that's a good idea. It's like if you can sit there and put your game out there and it's like, hey, if you want to play it, you pay us. If you don't like it, we'll give you your money back. And it's just like we need to have that. I know it's kind of hard to apply like when I buy a physical item, if I don't like it, I can take it back, and it's like I get rid of that physical item. But with like digital content, it's kind of harder to get back because you can always like, if you know how to crack games, you can always take that information, put it on your computer, and say, oh, I didn't like this game, and return it. So we need to have a way of being able to return like a key. We also need to have a way to sell used games too, because that's starting to go away. And
right.
Like, let's say I have games on my in my Steam library, I'm not playing, and it's just like, why can't I sell my key to somebody for like a couple bucks? It's like that person might not buy that game either way, and even then, like let's say a percentage of that goes to the developer again. It's like a small percentage, not a big one. It's like okay,
it's not a bad idea actually.
Because I've heard people talking about that before. It's like you're gonna make a little bit of money off me, selling my used game. It's like I'd rather do that.
That person may not have ever really wanted to buy that game because they just didn't want to spend that much money, but they're like, oh, I'll buy it for my friend for a few dollars, and then a few dollars will go to, the creator of the game.
Yeah, let's say I sold it to you for like $2, and it's like, I don't know, even 20 cents of that goes to the developer. It's like, hey, that just, it's just money. I guess I understand.
Still money that person may have never spent on that game.
I understand that it might be a little bit more complicated, like administrative fees might be a little bit different, but if you account for that and you say, okay, this is how much we're going to give for administrative fees, so make your, sell your key for a certain price adjusted to this, like if you have like kind of like that transparency, then it's like, okay, well if I sell it for $5 and I'm only going to make $4, I'd rather do that than sell it for $2 and only make $1. So it's like, I'll do that. And that could be a good way to get rid of piracy. And the developer will still make money. Because if I sit there and like back in the day, if I bought a physical copy from let's say GameStop or whatever, right? I bought it for $60, and then I play it and I'm just like, I just don't like this game. I go back and they're like, oh, we'll buy it back for $40, and it's like, okay, that's kind of ripping me off, but that's fine. I'll take the $40 because there's nothing else I can do. What they'll do is for $55, they'll sell it to somebody else, and the developer does not get a cut of that at all. That all goes to GameStop, those used copies, and you're just that person's just saving $5.
That's crazy.
But none of that money goes back to the developer, and it's just like, I guess the developer gets the money from the first purchase, but
GameStop is bullshit.
Yes.
GameStop's meant to screw over.
It needs to die.
This just goes back to, everything about just. I don't want to use the word producer, but like production. Like think about like record companies and the people that produce your stuff. They're the ones that get all the money. Like let's say a record producer, the musician doesn't get money from the albums, from selling the albums. They get money from the shows. So a lot of musicians have started giving out their music for free. And of course, the record companies do advertisement and will actually get your name out there. So it's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to sell out? And of course, I personally have my own rant about how I really don't care if someone wants to sell out. If you found a way to feed your family, but
I think it comes for that. It comes down to like if you're still providing quality and you're making money off of it, then no one has anything to say. Like if you're still producing a quality item and maybe the producer has a little bit more control over it, it's like we understand. It's like you want to make a career of what you're doing that you love. So it's like, you got to have that kind of understanding. Sorry, go ahead.
But
I just wanted to throw that in
there. The problem does arise that there are some rock bands that are worth like millions of dollars, but the band themselves are in debt because most of that money is going to the record company. that becomes a problem.
because the record company is so big. Like, to be fair, like, it might need all that money, but also to be fair, that the person that made that content is not getting any of that money, or at least not enough. I think that was very important back in the day for, anything, even books. You needed to have that producer to get your stuff out there.
Yeah.
Someone who could print all this materials and get it to these bookstores. That doesn't exist anymore. If you're a little indie band or whoever, you can go on the internet and do your own marketing and sell it through digital portals. And you don't need that producer anymore. It's kind of like an old system that's just not relevant. Like,
well,
you still need marketing teams and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, see, that's what I was about to bring up.
Yeah.
It does. I know from personal experience, marketing is tough.
Yeah.
Because you can't just. I don't know if people really know this. You could publish any book to Kindle in a snap. I did it, and I think I've sold 2 copies to an aunt and my mom. So, and I tried, I marketed on Facebook, Google+, but then again, I also didn't pay for advertisements. Maybe that would help.
Yeah. I guess I'll be a little bit more clear. It's like, you still need marketing, because that always helps, but you don't need that production side usually anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, like, beforehand, if I wanted to get a book out there before, like, internet or anything like that, I would have to get people to, pay for the production of these books. They have to kind of, like, basically, like, I don't know, what do you call it, risk their money to get these physical items out there. And if nobody buys these physical items, they're still there. You spend all that money. Nowadays, you just put it up on a server. And if people buy it, and that's when you start using, like, the bandwidth, but you're still making money, so that there's no risk there. So, yeah, at least with the production side, you don't need that. But with the marketing side, you still need that. I would say back in, like, maybe, I would say like 10 years ago, you didn't need it because there wasn't that much stuff on the internet. But now that it's oversaturated, you need a company that knows how to get past that and put you up front in front of everything else to get noticed.
It's interesting to think about it because, like, even like a while ago we still had CDs and tapes. So if you're a musician, technically you could still record your stuff and hand it out. But it's funny that you brought up books, because that you couldn't just make your own book unless you had your own printing press, or literally sold handwritten. That has happened though, but.
Yeah.
You couldn't mass produce that.
Like, you'd have to make your own, like, I guess, like, a very basic, like, your own newspaper almost. Because you can have, like, a small little, physical copier kind of thing, like a carbon copy kind of machine. But yeah, even then, it's like you still have to pay for the paper. You have to pay for the ink.
Oh yeah.
And with cassettes, like, back in the day, cassettes probably cost a lot more, and you still had to pay for those cassettes. You had to pay for some sort of physical thing. Nowadays, you don't really need to do that. You can put it up on SoundCloud for free, and people can just download it and listen to it.
Well, and also, like, because people would say, digital copies of things is the downfall of making money off of art, but I would say Humble Bundle proves that absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I look, you could pay as little as whatever you want. There's people that will pay thousands of dollars for one single thing because they want to support the arts and also the charities.
Yeah.
I think the Humble Bundle proves perfectly that it works. That kind of economy works.
I think that Humble Bundle works because you have to do it on a timed basis. It's like, okay, for a month we're giving these away for at least $1. It's like, if you can give any more, please do, because $1 barely covers our administration. But if you want to, that's fine. We're not trying to sit here and be super, what is it called? We don't make a lot of money from it. We just want to get this out there. Hence the name Humble Bundle.
Yeah.
But everybody's going to buy it. Everybody's going to talk about it. But then that bundle is going to go away after that month. And people are still going to talk about it. So people that come late into the game, they go, oh, this game I never heard about before. All these people bought it in the Humble Bundle. Let me go see. Oh, well, I have to buy it, full retail. But everyone's telling me it's worth it. So I'm going to go buy it full retail. So you create that. That's the marketing part. It's like you get the name out there. You just spread it word by mouth almost.
Yeah.
And then from there, the only way that people can get it is buy it. Like, there's been games I got for $1, and then they just, go off of Humble Bundle, and if anybody else wants to buy it, they got to pay $10, which is usually not a bad price for a game. For, like, a lot of these games, they're really good.
No, oh yeah.
Yeah, and it helps get those, like, small little companies, gets their name out there. Especially, like, not just to people, but if they're trying to, get support from another publisher or marketing team, they can go, hey, look, when we did this Humble Bundle, we got our name out there and people know who we are, so it's going to be easier time for you to market. So you can use that as leverage in getting that small little company to work with bigger companies to produce even more. So it's like, it's not just on the surface level of customer to developer, it's also developer to publisher. So there's a lot of aspects that it actually helps out, like, small little people to get their name out there. Because if you get your name out there, you're golden, pretty much. Well, depending on how you get your name out there, but for the most part,
I really hope a lot of this really does, I hope a lot of more, money really starts going into indie games and money stops going to AAA, so they could learn that you can't just make a crap game and sell it for $6.
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part, yeah, I think that's good. I think, who is it, Ubisoft and the whole Assassin's Creed, they're starting to get it. They're like, okay, we'll, rather than putting out one every year and just churning these things out and not caring, we're going to try to take more time and get back that public, get back in the good side of the public eye. Because, eventually if you screw people over enough, they're going to be like, well, I'm not going to buy another Ubisoft game. It's like, to me, I'm not going to buy another Assassin's Creed for a while. Maybe if it goes on sale, maybe. But I loved Assassin's Creed. That was like one of my main franchises, and then they just kind of burned me. I was like, okay, there's other games I can go spend my money on.
It's funny because I don't remember who it was, but somebody once was complaining recently about that this game didn't have a release date, and I was like, you know what, I'm okay with that, to be honest. Yeah, sometimes a game will be in limbo forever. It happens, but when you have a game and it's got a release date and it comes up to it and they're not done, and the production company's like, too bad, you're releasing it. So I don't mind, even though. Another thing is sometimes the release dates get pushed back. Sometimes I'd rather just there not be a release date, so then what's the point?
Yeah, it's just like, okay, we're going to be shooting for, this year, Like, I like that. Yeah. Well, even then, I agree with you if I just take a step back. It's a lot of times they put out a date there, and then they go, hey, we're not comfortable with this date, we need to push it back. And it's just like, okay, that's fine, push it back. It's like, well, okay, then in the grand scheme of things, it's like, you didn't need to tell me. You just say, hey, we're making this game, we're just trying to get the name out there so that to keep looking for it when it does come out. And I like it when they give like a general estimate, but it's not needed. It's like, just give me like an idea of it. I'll start thinking about it. If there's like some sort of community, maybe people will go in and say, oh, we like that aspect of it. Oh, we like how this is going, and kind of give immediate feedback. So that way they can kind of go like, oh, hey, let's go this route a little bit more before we go a wrong route almost.
Right.
But I don't need a date. It's fine.
My thing is my two things I would say is for early access and prepaid, or pre-order. Yeah. I say if you're doing early access, you should at least give some sort of timeline. No specific date, just say, hey, we're aiming for this. What the likelihood is maybe low, but this is what we're saying. And then if for pre-order, I don't think you should be able to pre-order until they know pretty much when the date really actually is.
I've heard a lot of people saying like we just need to stop pre-ordering because that's how like companies are just making their money, and then they go, oh hey, we've already made our money off of our fan base. It doesn't matter what game we make because they already pre-ordered. It's like, so we might just need to stop pre-ordering. The whole idea of why people pre-ordered before was, they didn't print as many copies, so you had to kind of like, if you really wanted a copy of the game, you put the money up front, and that ensured that you get your copy. Nowadays, it's just to make sure that they get the money, and you don't need that because. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's a mixture of things. I think it started out with developers originally with, I think it was probably even Minecraft that started this, but there was some good reasons to have alpha testing, and beta testing is anytime you have a game, alpha and beta testing is one of the most important fucking things, because if it goes on to onto the store incomplete, people will complain and people may never buy from you again. So it's really important. So people started didn't have the money to pay for an alpha or a beta testing team. They were, well, we'll release alpha, you give us some money now and you can play it for a little while, and when it comes out you'll get the full game, and that's Minecraft, I think, like you said in the past, has done that really well. And
I just want to add in, they also did a reduced cost. They're like, you're really only getting a part, or you're helping us out, so we're going to help you out. This game is going to cost this much when it comes out. We'll give it to you for $10 right now. I think that was like a very good point, or a good aspect of that. Go ahead. Sorry, I just want to add that.
Oh yeah, it was just it was because I think it was a mixture of the greedy developers realizing that they can get that, and the pre-orders that have happened in the past, they just kind of mix together to make this perfect storm of, everyone's obsessed with getting the paying for something early, because they want it, and now developers are totally betting on that, and it may not even be developers. A lot of times, it's probably publishers. Because the people with the money, they're the ones that I'm going, yeah, that's a good idea. But we've looked at these other things, and they did really well. So we think you should do this. And a lot of times, and the developer can't really argue. They got to do what they're paid to do, And so I think we've gotten this. We're in this horrible, part. I think what we're gonna see a backlash. There's gonna be a bubble. It's gonna burst, and we're gonna see a lot of people get angry, and we're gonna have a shift of the way we do business with these kind of games.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think another thing that's happened is you've heard that whole thing, right, where you could going what do you call it? Going into an election and running for some kind of office literally makes you money. So, and then there's some people that'll run that actually have no actual plans of actually taking that office. I think that happened. I think that happens here. Sometimes I wonder if there's like people that say, "Hey, we're all programmers. We can make a little crappy game. Let's put it into early access, and we'll just see how much money we can get. And then once it stops coming in, then we'll just never release the game,
Or they'll just release what they have already and just like, oh, this is the full game.
Right? Yeah.
Because I think that's what happened to I'm sorry, it was a I am bad with like the names of games today. It was a zombie game that came out. What is it? It's like third person, and you're one guy and you start meeting other people and you can take the place of other people. Like you switch characters. But if your character dies, they die forever and you have to be a new character. I have it. I don't remember what it's called. I think it was going to go on Xbox as well. But that's what they did. They made this game, and it kind of just all of a sudden at one point they're like, oh yeah, here we released it, and then when you're playing the game, the ending just ends. Like there's just like an end credit, and it's kind of like quick, and it's like, oh wow, they cut off the rest of like the content that they're going to put into this game, because now they're going to work on the sequel. They've got all their money for this one. It's a well done game and people like it, so let's just cut it off right there. Let's not add any more to it. And I guess in that case it wasn't that bad because it was like the game's complete, really. Like the ending just kind of sucks, and so for the most part you're getting what your money's worth. But the idea was they cut off content, and then I think they actually made it into DLC later on. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. It's another zombie game. They all blend together, man. I'm sorry. I'm glad that we're kind of over like the whole zombie genre, because I always loved it, but it was just oversaturated, and I couldn't imagine like to people that don't like zombie stuff. I couldn't imagine what their world was like. It's like, okay, it's everywhere. We got Walking Dead, we've got DayZ, we've got Left 4 Dead and stuff like that. We have zombies everywhere, and I think on the Apple the App Store, it was just zombie games, like crappy zombie games everywhere. Yeah. Plants vs Zombies. Oh, that one was pretty fun. To be fair.
Yeah, I think it's part of the list of zombie games that all seem to come out around the same time.
Oh, like that. There was a zombie genre. Do you remember that? In the iTunes store? Or the App Store?
There was?
Oh, really?
There was a zombie genre. It became a genre. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just
no. Yeah, I was thinking about remember Zombie U? Oh, that was for the Wii U. I guess it's been a little while since that. I mean, it hasn't been too long.
I think I don't know if they did release it, but they were going to release it for the other consoles, and it's just going to be called Zombie without the U part. The zombie eating eye. Which kind of that game was very. It made sense on the Wii U because it used that controller and that screen. I don't know how that applies to other game consoles.
Yeah, it felt like it was more of a niche kind of game made for the hardware, which is really sad because I think that was a lot of Nintendo Wii and Wii U's downfall. I think Wii did really well, but it wasn't because, in my opinion, obviously, I don't think it was because of its dang it. Oh man, train of thought.
Well, to add on to you, I think it did too well, and that kind of sounds weird. It did so well that people expected so much of it. The problem is that their audience was too, I don't want to say generic, but it was just their audience was everybody, which from their standpoint is that's great. We can sell a game to everybody, but the problem was I heard people talking about this before on other podcasts or just somewhere else, that like someone that was a bit older, maybe like 40s, like they bought the Wii because there was like exercise games and there was like these cool things that actually applied to them and they could do. And that 40-year-old person went to the store and said, "Yeah, I don't want to buy any of these Wii games because they look like video games."
Yeah.
And it was like, Nintendo has always done this, and I think it's how they brought video games back. Is they never called their stuff video games. They called it more of like a toy. Like when they brought out the NES, they the first package that they had was Rob. And when you played the game, it actually made Rob move and move these little discs. So they sold it as an interactive toy. Because before that was when like the gaming crash or the video game crash happened, and video games were just like, do not get into that. That just sucks. Nobody wanted to buy it. So they made a interactive toy. And once they got that interactive toy into people's places, they go, oh hey, you can play these other games on it. And then that's what brought video games back. Now they kept that mentality, which has always kind of like served them well because the whole console wars in quotations was PlayStation versus Xbox, and Nintendo was just like, yeah, we just do something different. We're not trying to be like the best looking games. We're just trying to be like very high quality, like fun games, and that I think that always worked for them, because whenever I played a Nintendo game, I was like, yeah, these are actually very well polished games. These are very good, because most of the time it was like first party and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I think when it came to the Wii, they started to, I guess, open up to really crappy Wii games. Like
Which is really funny because for a long time Nintendo was the one company who only made games that were approved by them. They were like the Apple.
Yeah, it was a very closed system. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, go on. What were you saying?
Oh yeah, but that closed system worked for them. But when they came, like I remember going to the store and it's like, oh, what Wii games do I want to buy? Because the first one I bought obviously was like Twilight Princess, because that was a good game. I had fun playing that. But in the store there was all these like carnival games. Like it's all this like it's just a pack of mini games that were just kind of crappy, and they just weren't polished. It was just shitty, like for lack of like a better way to explain it.
It was almost like they revolutionized something new, and with that you're always gonna get a new group trying to capitalize on that.
Yeah, specifically like older groups or just casual people that just want to play or pick something up and play it.
Yeah.
Which that makes sense. That helps get like a lot of money into the industry to help kind of fund the other games for like I guess not to say but more hardcore players, but people who actually consider themselves gamers. Like it gets money to them, but yeah, I think that helped create the downfall of the Wii, and then they named their second console Wii 2, which is I'm never gonna get over that.
I mean Wii U?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, your previous console pretty much failed. Like it did really well, and then all of a sudden nobody wanted to play it. Oh, here we'll name the next one Wii U. Oh, what the fuck? Don't you want to distance yourself from that a little bit? Like restart almost, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Nintendo's always been one for like having these like gimmicky things, and I think the gimmick was interesting. I think a big reason why the Wii sold so well was, for one, its price point, and it came with games on startup, and for the more casual base like parents and other family members, it was an easier way to bring them in because the controller was intuitive because it was a wand almost. So if you played games like the sports games, it was obvious what you had to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like everyone that was invested in the gimmickiness of the Wii, the whole the remote and the nunchuck, and how many good games have come out that utilize that? I feel like the most popular games on the system were like Wii Fit and Wii Sports, and so I guess in a way they were succeeding, but not in the way that I think for at least hardcore gamers, I don't think it was good. So maybe that was what they wanted. But I feel like they almost shot themselves in the foot, because anytime games like Smash Brothers or other games that didn't utilize that came out and they got really popular, people just kind of forgot about the Wiimote. It's
they used like the GameCube controller very little, because I remember being in the whole like Smash Brothers scene, even though I didn't really like Smash Brothers, but I just like hanging out with those people. Nobody used the Wiimote. They used like either the classic controller or more often than not the GameCube controller, because it just kind of fit that gameplay really well.
Well, I'm not even a Smash Brothers guy at all, and I think I tried to play with the Wiimote once, and I was like, no, I need
it wasn't suited for that. It was because you can do it sideways, but it was more suited to have the Wiimote in your right hand, and then the nunchuck in your left, and that made sense. It was kind of cool. You can kind of like relax your arm. You didn't need them like together and holding up the controller. You can kind of put them down the sides and play. And yeah, I think I'll agree with you, Brandon. It was too gimmicky. Like the reason why I like Twilight Princess was so much was that like the motions of like the controllers, you can use it for like hitting and stuff, but it wasn't like super intense. It was just kind of like it made sense. It's like, okay, I'll just hit for like an action, or I'll point to shoot, or the left one does the shield, and it was like
I forgot about that.
It wasn't gimmicky. It kind of actually.
Yeah, no, it worked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I believe that was actually the first Zelda game I played, but I loved it. I loved the hell out of it. But I forgot that you actually utilized nunchuck and the Wiimote with that one.
I think the reason why that game was done well, because it was first developed for the GameCube, and like I don't know if you remember, it was on like a lot of E3s for the GameCube, and so when they ported it over, they didn't have that initial like, oh, we're gonna use the Wiimote to do everything. We're just gonna have it do these like simple actions, and it made sense because the game was not based off the controls.
That does make sense.
It wasn't gimmicky, and it was actually just very like standard to the old kind of way of playing a GameCube controller, and so they didn't sit there and try to retrofit or try to fit like a game to these controls. These controls were fit to that, and I think that was actually a better way to develop it for it, I guess.
That goes back to something you had said to me a while ago, because I don't remember what it was, but I had gotten something for shooting video or something, and I was like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna use this on our next project, and you're like, well, what if we don't need it? I was like, I don't care, we're using it. And you said, don't use something because you have it, use it because you need it. So don't develop something around your device, use your device with the game.
Yeah, because like, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, it's like I would agree with that. I think, and that's why I think the downfall, I think it was the Wiimote was a bittersweet thing. I think it helped bring in a lot of people to playing it, but it didn't bring in any new hardcore people, and it kind of almost shifted the view of the Wii U to being this other kind of gaming device, which is
of toy.
Yeah, toy, and like what you said, that's probably what they probably wanted to go for a lot of the time. But in the Wii U, I feel like the ball has been dropped really, really heavily.
Yeah, I think Nintendo it's always been good that Nintendo's been doing their own thing, because they do put out things that are just, at first they're kind of weird, but it's like, oh well, we can develop, we can do this with this and this, like their motion controls they started to put into the other consoles, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but I'm glad they did it because it just did something new. Like the 6-axis control in the PS3 was a really cool idea. I think kind of poorly implemented, but it was good that they were doing something new. Now, don't do it for every game because some games just don't need it, but it's good to sit there and test what ideas work and what don't. What can we learn from this? Like the Wii U's controller where it has like the little screen right there. That's really cool because that started the whole trend of asymmetrical gameplay. Like meaning like let's say you're playing Mario Party and you want to be Bowser. You want to control the board game and you want to be like almost a DM. You would take that screen controller and you can do stuff on there. Like I think they do that on one of the Mario Party games, but I heard it sucks, so I'm not gonna go too deep into that.
That would be a great idea for like a D&D type game.
Yeah, you get to be like you play a separate game from the other people. Like me and John, we were sitting here playing this game on Steam. It was what was it? What the fuck is wrong with me? Okay, what it was is like it was one team against another. It was just like a shooter, right? And you had to be like very team based. It was Space Marines versus aliens almost. Now everybody kind of played like just like typical classes of like shooters and stuff like that. But one person got into a box and played the commander. They were all of a sudden playing an RTS. They were sitting there building things to help out the shooters or the other players and stuff like that to come across or to help them out, and they would build structures, and then they actually would tell people. Actually, they did not build structures. They would tell people where to build structures. Like they would put like a little marker here, and it's like, okay, build this here, and people would build that. And so you had this person who was taking on the commander kind of aspect, and he was playing a totally different game than everybody else. He's not doing FPS. He's not doing none of that. He's playing an RTS. And so you add these extra like elements to this game where you can play these separate things. Now in asymmetrical kind of gameplay, one game that was kind of doing it well, but it didn't really work in this aspect was Evolve. You had 4 people against one person. That one person was the boss. and those 4 people were, co-op playing against him. Now that's a really cool idea. Like normally you would just have 4 people against a boss, but now all of a sudden this boss is no longer AI. It's an actual person. It can actually think. It can actually, fight back against people and learn from their, their patterns. That is a really cool idea. Now it didn't really work out because when you do asymmetrical, you really have to change your ways of balancing gameplay. Because beforehand, if you're just fighting 4v4, it just both sides have to be equal, and then now it just comes down to skill based. This one is way different, so we are still learning how to do that, how to balance for asymmetrical. But I'm glad that we have that because all of a sudden the game is just way different now.
It kind of reminds me. It's a little different, but the game Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
Yeah, yeah.
The other person isn't playing a game, but they are doing something different. You have the one person actually playing the game, so it's like and you want the other people not seeing the screen, so that's why VR is best. But they could just literally sit on the other side of the monitor. They just have paper and look into the paper.
Yeah.
And I'm totally into that kind of idea. I do want to see more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think when Nintendo comes out with these ideas, they help generate a new train of thought. Like, okay, games don't have to be team versus team, or one person's versus the other, and where they're both playing the same game. Now all of a sudden, like, yeah, that game looks really cool. Like, what is it? Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
Yeah.
So one person's going through a manual. Like,
yeah.
Not a manual in the game, just a printed out manual, but it makes sense in the gameplay, and it creates this really fun, fast-paced, like confusion, like, oh my god, what's happening kind of gameplay. And so when you start these new trends, you start giving out the ideas of like games don't have to be set and defined in this versus this. It can be something else, and I think that helps create new conceptualizations, I guess. Like, just new trains of thought. I don't know how else to put it, but
wouldn't you say though that pretty much most, if not all, innovation starts as a gimmick? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say that. It helps create something new, and it sets people down a different path than what it was before. Like, those motion controls can be applied to other stuff into other games, and they can be applied well, as long as it's not defined by that motion control, I would guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets new hardware out there, it gets new ideas out there, and then you just got to let the developers kind of like, okay, what can we do with this? What kind of cool thing that we can add to the game that makes sense, that the game doesn't need, but it just adds something extra.
We got to start utilizing the tools instead of building our games around the tools.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm wondering how, because we've talked about, I think it was last week or maybe the week before, we were talking about VR, and I think VR is really going to push that, because you can have different, I know it seems like it won't be different, but you can have different things in gameplay. Something that requires you to like be looking around, that stuff like right out of your side of your sight that may have not made sense in like a, just a looking at your screen kind of game. I don't know what you'd call that nowadays, but that can create something new. And that hardware doesn't seem so gimmicky, because it just seems like it makes sense in games. Like, you always have to look around in games, so this one just kind of immerses you a little bit more. But because of that, you can add something extra to it. Like, Brandon was playing a game that was totally based off of perspective, and if you're immersed in it and you have a headset, that perspective like changes, if that makes sense. You all of a sudden, like, that game probably could have been played without a VR headset, and it would have been just fine, because I've seen perspective games played before. But now all of a sudden your perspective is just, it's immersed. It's better. I don't know. It's kind of like just ranting or rambling on that. But yeah, when you add that extra, I would just call it, I guess, dimension to it. I'm sorry, I hit my mic. When you add that extra dimension to it, you create something new. And I don't know what people are going to use that VR for, to create like a new idea, but someone's going to do it. Someone's going to be like, okay, this game cannot be created any other way. VR has to, it only works on VR, and that's going to make sense, and that's going to be fun.
I could see that.
I'm just waiting for that. Yeah.
It's funny, we've had so much talk about it, and we've just been talking straight that it almost is like, wow, did we talk about it?
I know. Yeah, I think we're getting kind of to the end. Yeah, I think what I'm gonna say this at the end. If somebody can, no, I won't say that. I'll cut that. Never mind. Let me start over. So yeah, I think we're just kind of running low on time. I guess.
Yeah,
If you guys want to end it here, I guess we had a full conversation about MMOs.
Yeah.
Not piracy, but services that help combat piracy, and then innovation. I guess that was the train of thought today.
Yeah, basically.
But, yeah. So just want to say to our listeners, thank you for listening to the Low Level Boss podcast. If you're hearing this any other way other than our YouTube page, you can visit our YouTube page at LowLevelBoss.com. I was your host, Charles. I'm usually the one, taking care of that kind of, low-level boss stuff. So if you talk to somebody on that, you're usually talking to me. Maybe you're talking to Jared. But today I had with me both Brandon and Jared. Brandon is from Bloodless Duck. So if you try to find him anywhere, or if you just see him in a game somewhere, that's him. And then Jared usually uses the screen name of Dark Jack Wolf. And so just, again, want to thank you guys. LowLevelBoss.com as a plug. And do you guys have anything to say at the end? Any final notes, closing notes?
Chimichangas.